There is a new law, apparently, from what said it was going to take effect on Friday. Um, and this is bad because, even for passengers, passengers are not allowed to do certain things like, not allowed to make phone calls in case, they're not allowed to actually make phone calls. Only if it's an emergency, like if the car gets broke down or something like that. You're not allowed to phone your loved ones to say you're stuck in traffic or anything like that, um, which is stupid. There's a number of other things as well. You're not allowed to mess, like do this or whatever on your phone as a passenger, meaning you're not allowed to mess with the games, you're not allowed to listen to music, watch videos and whatever. Like if you're like on a travel to a holiday or something like that, you're not allowed to do any of that anymore. The only time you're allowed to mess with your phone is a rest thing, like a restaurant or something like that. It's plainly just stupid. I think the only time you can mess with your phone is if you're like not moving in the car. I think it's just downright stupid. So yeah. So apparently there's also other things as well. Besides the phone issue. You can't talk to the driver. That's another one. Because they said it distracts them. So apparently they said you're not allowed to do that. You're also not allowed to show sat nav from your phone to them because they say it's dangerous. And a bunch of other stuff. So the whole chatting thing in the car, I mean, come on, that's stupid. Getting rid of that and such so people can't enjoy themselves, people can't chat for about, say, like if you were traveling to like Alton Towers, it would be like 4 hours. That means you can't talk for 4 hours, if you were going straight there. But if you were taking stops, that means you can't chat for 2 hours. That is stupid. Really stupid. It's like, well, what if somebody started singing in the car? Yeah, there you go. There's one. Same thing, really. Same thing as like putting on music on the phone. Apparently, it's clearly the same thing because if someone started singing and then someone else started singing, it would make the driver start singing. Which usually happens because that's how they get entertained. And I know deeply you can't ignore somebody for too long because you get bored, apparently, and you start chatting anyway. People can't help it. It's a way of getting motivated, to pass time. And if you do absolutely nothing, like say you don't do any activity during travels, you would just be sat there doing nothing. And it would feel like hours haven't gone by at all, so there's that. Meaning time hasn't passed, or whatever. It would just feel like you're, for example, it would feel like you're waiting in a hospital waiting room doing nothing, and you just get bored constantly, and you're like restless, and you start like getting irritated and moody as hell. That's another thing. And you just feel like you want to shout and a bunch of other stuff. So it's kind of like also saying, you're not allowed to talk with any family members in the car. Yeah, that's another one, which is stupid. Because they did say no talking, that actually could interrupt the driver. Again, it's stupid. Very stupid. Yeah, so any phone, especially if it's a driver or whatever, you're not allowed to hold it like this. So that means I can't. So that means I have to keep it in my bag through the entire travel. You basically with like anywhere. So like if I was traveling to anywhere, I wouldn't be allowed. So that means when I stop or whatever, then I'd probably be able to use, like if we stop at basically a break or something like that from traveling or something like that. I mean, the government at this point, I mean, Christ. How more strict can they get? I mean, what's next? Basically, stopping people from playing on the Switch, or playing a PSP, or a PS Vita in the car, because that's similar to a phone. It is. It's similar. Very, very similar. Because you're playing with technology, so, and the funny thing is, they don't think about, certain people that turn volumes down on certain things, you know what I mean? It's kind of like, say you were listening to music and you had, like, things in your ears, basically, so nobody would hear it, you would probably still get charged, which is stupid. It's, like, very stupid at this point. I don't know what's going through their heads. It's stupid. I think this law needs to change, because if they don't, the law will just get more strict, and people would start raging with pitchforks and such, against the government. Then there'll be more fights on the streets, like mayhem happening, a bunch of fireworks happening and such, all that shit, causing panic towards the civilians and such, people causing crime, that's another one, that could happen. That means more car chases with the cops, that one, meaning most people will probably try and drive away, basically for the government being stupid, and that would be it, because of passengers. I mean, it's not really the passengers' fault, because they just want to enjoy themselves, but I mean, now wait, 200 quid for, a fine for a passenger using it, okay, so apparently let's add this up, right? Say, for example, there's, like, 5, apparently in the car. There's, like, the driver, and then you've got, like, the 5 passengers. Well, I mean, like, you've got 5 in total, but, you got, like, 1 driver, 4 passengers, apparently. Now, the fine is actually 200 quid, so you add 200, it comes to, like, 1,000 quid, for in total, which is a lot of bloody money. Like, if it's finding every single one in the car, which could be fine for that. I'm not really happy with with it, because I usually like to enjoy myself, because you know what I like to do sometimes? I like to play Pokemon Go, on my, phone, apparently. I like to, mess with my phone, like this, look at certain areas where Pokemon are, I catch them and such, but now that looks like that's bloody changing, so we can't do any of that shit anymore, so there's that, I mean, how stupid, I mean, they could end up doing a lot worse, like I said before, stopping all devices, even if it's the Switch and such, the tablet and all that stuff, they'd probably end up, stopping all that. I mean, they basically are stopping it with the phone, they're banning it, apparently, which I'm not happy with. Eventually they'll probably say that, another thing you'd probably get banned for, which would be the next step towards breaking humanity. People would be more pissed as ever. They would not be on board, with it. It would just break them even more. They would turn against the government, which would cause a riot, meaning riots is never good at all, because usually when you get with riots is a lot of mayhem, as in violence, stuff like that, more injured victims and whatever, because of everyone refusing to cooperate with the phone law and such, and people are just getting sick of the law because it's getting too strict for everybody, and they're not going along with it. So apparently I don't know what I'm going to do, because, apparently the reason I mess with phones apparently is because of boredom. I get bored during travel, and I can't find anything to do, because I suffer from insomnia when traveling. Insomnia means you can't sleep at all. Especially during travel, meaning you can't sleep during travel. Now, I can't sleep on a plane, can't sleep in a car, can't sleep on any sort of moving vehicle, because it's hard. It's also hard on a boat as well to sleep, because I've tried. It's hard. So I can't sleep, to say the least, because say you're traveling like a long time and you get bored afterwards and you just can't go back to sleep. It's like that. And then all of a sudden you feel like, oh, okay, I'll bring up my phone, and then you find out, oh, it's illegal. And then the next thing you think is, oh, I'll play my Switch, but eventually that would be illegal. Playing on all devices in the car as a passenger. Again, it's it's stupid. Because whoever made this law is drunk. Really, 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 really drunk. They've probably been drinking too much, taking too much weed, meaning drugs, and such, and actually made that law. Yeah. So the government need to get their head straight, change the law, make everyone happy, and then it won't, I mean, clearly I can understand, the driver not holding the phone because the driving, you know what I mean? But passengers would basically have a massive impact, because, they're not the ones driving. So it shouldn't impact them too, because they're not actually driving at all. So I think really it should be just the driver, not the passengers. So I think the passengers should be left out of it, so then they don't feel bored while traveling. It's also like, another thing that's similar is, what if someone was eating while driving, or drinking while driving? Because when I say drinking, I actually mean, like, what if you were, like, drinking a carton of Coke or something like that? Like you got, like, from McDonald's or something like that. Same thing. You're distracted. You know what I mean? It's stupid. Apparently, the way the laws evolved over the years. Now, it's funny, because the law to me is changing too much around me, because I'm in a weird timeline where things just change too quickly, because it's funny, because, technology was a thing when I was around a certain age, like, I was around the PS1 era, and such, and I had a very shitty phone. Yeah, very shitty phone. My first ever phone was actually red. It was like one of those old phones that you can't really do much. It didn't have internet on it or whatever, but you actually could only make phone calls. So there was that. And then I ended up getting another phone, which was actually better. I think it was an Android, I think. Yeah, I think it was an Android I got, which was basically my next phone, and it did well, actually. And then I ended up with, like, another phone, for, like, photos and stuff, meaning my other phone after that was like an iPhone, which basically did evolve over the years, and then I got like this is a spare from like my nana, the Samsung one. Yeah, so technology is evolving too quick because it also feels as well like with VR and stuff like that, that's evolving very quickly around me. Certain places are closing down because of how quickly it's going. Apparently, it's like I'd probably be around when like robots start a world war or something like that. I'd probably be around when that kicks in. And a bunch of other stuff that probably also kick in. Like a lot of bloody wars while I'm around. Especially like morals, maybe to do with like, you know, interacting in public. There's those sort of rules that probably would kick in eventually. And people just raging against the law because they don't like it. So there's a lot of laws that's probably going to come into play years later, which basically, even though you basically would feel like a long time, it doesn't. Laws would change very quickly, and the future apparently would change very quickly because, well, the present changes into the future very quickly, because, well, this is the present, so, So I reckon the next government thing probably might impact me again, more, and then they'll make another bloody law, which will probably impact me again, and then another law, and then another law, and then another law, and then at one point I would feel broken down, meaning wouldn't be able to do anything. So I think in the end they'll probably come up with another law saying, oh, you can take your devices on holiday, or you can basically take your consoles on holiday. Even if it's in the same country, I think they might actually do that because you know how corrupt the government is right now. They don't think before acting. It's like, I actually have a feeling, I think, you know, the type of people probably the sensitive to these sort of things and probably actually did it anyway. Now, I think it's probably Karens, as, you know, not like directly anyone that's actually called Karen, but like person that acts like a Karen, you know, like complains about certain things and such, like, and tries to get in everyone's face, that sort of Karen. I'm talking about, like, complaints or whatever and actually had the government change it, to suit their needs. That's what I'm talking about. So there's a number of other issues as well. Yeah, so the other issues could be, you know, as a passenger, you might not be able to eat or drink in the car. Again, if you're like having a takeaway or something like that, they'd probably take that away. I mean, the government these days, they never learn. They don't really listen to people that much, like the ones that really truly matter. The ones that tend to do something important, like something to do with our life or something like that. You get the idea. And the other funny thing, I think they might stop, like, say, oh, you forgot to take your medication that morning, and you try to do it in the car, and you can't because they put up a law saying you can't. That could be another effect in the future, saying that shit. So this could actually break people down. It could actually break me down a lot. And you know, if I see a bunch of like rules impacting my life in public, like say I can't do this shit or that shit or this shit in public anymore, like a bunch of stuff like the Switch and stuff like that, like you can't take it on holiday or anything like that, I would completely lose it. Yeah, I would lose it. I would get bored and such, like say, oh, you can't take it to like a karaoke place, like your phone or whatever, or you can't take this there, or you can't take that there, or you can't do this shit, you know what I mean? Can't do any of that shit, So it's weird. And then basically they'd be like, oh, you can't have that much amount in your bloody wallet or whatever, you know, like the government. I mean, seriously though, the government just need to think about it for once. Need to think about the customers that are impacted by this. You know what I mean? So they really need to think about it because it's a thing. It's like when they made a law for the dogs, you know what I mean? Like to put a leash, to tie them to like a seat or something like that. We apparently don't have like a dog seat, where you can like strap them in. We don't have that. We have like just like a leash strapped to like a seat belt. That's all we have. But you know, sometimes we can't book her in, which is also against the law, because if you don't seat her in, you could be fined. If you basically don't strap a dog in the car, you could be fined. So what I do with my dog, I put it down. If there's like 5 people in the car, including the driver, I put my dog in front of my legs, like down below in the car, where the floor mat is, where she would feel more secure. That's why I usually pet her, because she's sort of like a bigger, shorter dog, so I can't really have her on my legs because it hurts my legs. It's uncomfortable. So that's why I always have her down below, my dog. So at least then she can't hurt herself, or anything. Like if anything happens, at least then she's more secure down there. But again, these rules, these government policies with the phone and such, like the music and stuff. Apparently I've already messaged my mom, waiting a reply from that. I'd have to tell my grandparents about the whole issue. They might not be happy about it. My nana might not be happy about it, because my nana argues with my grandma during travels, which is not supposed to be allowed now. But knowing my nana, she'd ignore it. She'd go basically bicker to my grandma, cause an argument and all that crap, because my grandma basically teases my sister sometimes. That actually happens in the car. Then my nana gets mad at him, this argument goes on, my sister basically gets upset and gets more mad, starts arguing, which gets worse, so I always have to step in and tell them all to shut up. You know what I mean? Like, I always stick up for my sister, you know, as in, you know, stop annoying her and all that stuff, stop shouting, sort of thing. So it's funny because he said no talking. I mean, you can't literally stop a conversation in the car. As soon as it starts, that's it. You can't stop it, because it's hard to ignore it, because if something happens, you know, like people that have autism, they have a thing with answering back. If they're upset, like my sister, she has like a bigger autism than me, and she reacts in a negative way. So there's that. It's pretty weird. It's like if I started singing, you know, everyone would sing along, and it's weird because, like, what if the cops just happenly pull us up and actually listen to us singing in the car? Yeah, that's stupid, because we are enjoying ourselves in the car, and the cops just basically would manage to pull up and actually see us singing. Imagine that. Yeah. And then they'll be like, why are you singing with the driver? I'm like, we didn't ask him to sing. He was singing along eventually. You You know what I mean? We're just enjoying ourselves because that's what we do. Sometimes when we're like traveling on like a long distance, we like, say if I was going to Europe or something, we usually play a guessing game like an I Spy thing, like I Spy something thingy, spelling with like the letter thingy, and then we try to guess. You know what I mean? Meaning you don't really directly have to talk, look at the passenger, you look at the road and drive. A couple of times my granddad has gotten lost while driving. It's pretty funny, especially with the sat nav. And I'm like, Christ, again. It's funny because my granddad likes to talk while driving, but my nana is against it. It's basically sometimes she tells everyone to shut up while he's driving, and I'm like, so basically it's like I'm trying to speak to somebody else, but my granddad gets involved, and then everyone starts chatting, and then my nana tells me to shut up and everyone else to shut up. And I'm like answering back saying, well, that's rude, because we're entertaining ourselves. Like, if we didn't talk at all, then it would be completely boring. Meaning, nothing would have made it interesting, meaning it would be silent, and everybody would just be yawning constantly because they'd have nothing better to talk about. It's like if something comes up in their mind, and they want to talk about it, they can't talk about it, and then they forget about it because they forget what they were going to say. So that's why it's always best to bring it out, to actually say what they're saying, and then instead of like forgetting it, it's just plain out stupid. With the government at this point, which most people would agree with at this point because it is ridiculous, it's stupid. Now, when it comes to basically preferring either today's age era or the old age, I prefer the the old days where they didn't have that many laws. Compared to the this one where they have like a bunch of laws now, it's not great. Yeah. So yeah. So I could see a lot of people complaining already. A lot of people making videos about it. A lot of people doing stuff about it. People like probably making rant videos about it and stuff like that, due to the new rules setting up. Apparently this is in the UK, so for anyone that's actually in the UK, this is the law apparently, that's going to happen, with the phone or whatever and such, like the no driving thing, no phone thing while driving sort of thing, no talking to the driver, no music in the car, no messing with your phone or anything like that, all that stuff. That's the rule, apparently. That's the law, apparently, so that's gonna be the law in the UK up to now. Not even allowed to text, make phone calls unless it's an emergency. Especially if you're in a traffic jam and you're trying to call a relative, you can't. You're not allowed. Like, if you were, like, literally stuck in traffic and the traffic was moving very, very slowly, meaning basically you would move a bit and then stick and then basically wait a while and then basically move and then stick again. It'd be like that. Meaning you'd be stuck for hours in a traffic jam without phone calls. I mean, like, say you were trying to get somewhere on holiday or whatever, but you like had somebody that already reached there in another car, and you basically was not allowed to phone them, which is ridiculous. It means having to stop at a break area and then phone them. Yeah, that is ridiculous. Like, what if somebody phones, the other, to actually talk to them about something important, like where to go next. You know what I mean? It's ridiculous because it's like they're not allowed to answer the phone, and then the other ones on the other side of the phone would get moody as hell because they'd be mad because of the law. So the law is ridiculous. I 100% think it's stupid as hell, especially if people got arrested for it, for refusing to pay it, you know what I mean? Refusing to pay the fine. It would just be stupid. Like, could you actually imagine somebody would get arrested for, like, refusing to pay, a fine for, like, using a phone as a passenger, you know what I mean? And they get, like, sent to jail, and then the inmates, ask, what are you in for? I'm like, something stupid, really. And they're like, wait, what? I'm like, are you innocent? And then the innocent person would say, yeah. And they're like, okay, what did you get sent in for? I'm like, using a phone as a passenger. And then the inmate would burst out laughing, and then a bunch of other inmates would start out laughing. I mean, could you imagine something like that? Taken the piss out of, because of using a phone? Which could actually lead to, like, a massive riot. So a lot of riot would probably happen because a lot of people would be pissed, meaning they wouldn't be able to do much of anything. I mean, take business people, for example. They like to be on the phone. You know what I mean? Basically, if they were passengers. So we can't do that anymore. So yeah, government's stupid as hell. It needs to change the law of the phone and such. So yeah.